Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a couple of card tutorials for you and we're going to be making some clean and simple cards for Mother's Day. If you've ever seen any of my videos or my cards, you know I'm usually not a clean and simple kind of girl. I usually like lots of layers and texture, dimension, embellishments, complicated scenes, but I got these really cute new stamps and I thought they'd be really fun to try and challenge myself to do something a little more simple. I'm going to be using Arteza Brush Pens. These are really great for watercoloring. And the stamp set that I have is the Fairy Garden Friends stamp set from Crafter's Companion. It's a little difficult to see. They print their carrier sheet in a very light ink. You might be able to see a little bit better on the back. But it has bunnies, foxes, geese, and some birds, and a little hedgehog. It's a really cute set. And I thought they would make a fun kind of storybook look like this. My sentiment is a combination from two different stamp sets. The Happy is from a set from scrapbook.com and the Mother's Day is from Totally Awesome from Lawn Fawn. I took an olive green piece of cardstock and cut it in half and scored and folded both halves for my card bases. And then I have two pieces of Strathmore cold press watercolor paper cut to 5 1/4 by 4. To get a little bit of a softer hand colored watercolor look and get that real storybook kind of feeling, instead of using a dark black ink pad, I decided to use Rich Cocoa from Memento. I think that brown just adds a little bit of a softer line and it works really nicely with watercolor. In the lower right hand corner of one of my watercolor panels, I'm going to be stamping the bunnies. I've placed the mama and the baby goose on the same block, and on the other panel I'm going to be stamping them out in the lower left hand corner. With the same brown ink, I'm going to be stamping the sentiment. The geese is the upper right hand corner, and for the bunnies, the upper left hand corner. I've got a cup of water, a number 3 paintbrush, and a paper towel. I'm going to start off coloring my bunnies. I love the Arteza Real Brush marker pens. They work really well to watercolor. The only thing that I don't like about them is there's no color name or number on them. There is a colored tip at the end, but so it's a little bit difficult for me to tell you exactly which marker I'm using, so I'll just try and describe the color. I wanted the bunnies to be slightly different browns, so I'm going to be using a different brown in each one. This one is sort of a rusty red brown, and I'm going to start with the younger bunny. And I like to lay down my color where I would like it to be heaviest on my image. So wherever I would want shading and shadowing to be, that's where I'm going to lay down my marker. I'm going to pick up a little bit of water on my brush and kind of tap it off on the paper towel. You don't want too wet of a paintbrush. And I'm just going to move that color around and just pull it down towards the areas where it has not got any color. If you need to, go back in, pick up some more water. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on, I'm just using kind of soft swirling motions to pull that color out a little bit. Next, I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more color, again where I would like the shading and shadowing to be a little darker. And lightly blend that out. So you do not need to wait for your first layer to dry before you add any more color down on top. You don't want to work the paper too much or have too much water or color on there, but you can definitely go in several times and continue to add up those layers. To add some extra dimension, I'm going in with sort of a peach color, kind of a pinky peach color, and just in the areas where I would like him to be a little lighter, I'm going to add that in. And when you're working with two different colors, especially if you're putting a lighter color over a darker, you want to make sure that you clean that brush tip off when you're finished, so you're not contaminating your marker. Go back in with my paintbrush and just kind of smooth the areas out and blend them in a little bit better. Keep in mind, this is a very loose watercolor look. You're probably going to go outside the lines a little bit. It's going to be kind of loose and flowy, and that's really the look that I'm going for. If you do happen to go outside the lines a little bit, you can take your paintbrush with some clear water and kind of go around the side and just sort of pick that up. Moving on to one of the darker browns, I'm going to do the Mama Bunny the same way. I'm going to lay that dark color around where I want more shading and shadowing. I'm going to avoid the belly and the inside of her ears. Be sure that you clean off your paintbrush in between colors. And just like I did with the little bunny, I'm just gonna smooth and pull out that darker brown color. And for really small images like this, the smaller the paintbrush, the easier it's going to be to get in all those little areas. So after I've smoothed that out, I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more color in some areas I would like it to be a little darker, and smooth that out again. Going back to that same peachy color that I used on the other bunny, I'm going to add some of that on her belly and her ears and blend that out. And then with this coral color, I'm going to add just a little bit of cheek color and maybe a little bit on the inside of the ears. And then I'm just going to soften that up again with the damp paintbrush. I've taken this gray color and added just a little bit to their tails, just so they're not bright stark white, and really blend that out. I've got kind of an olive army green color for the grass that matches my cardstock, and I'm just going to make some dash and scribble lines underneath, and with my paintbrush smooth those out. So just give some shading and shadowing underneath and a little bit of the look of grass. So here are my finished bunnies, really quick and simple watercoloring. I'm going to move on to the geese. I've cleaned off my paintbrush and I have this bright yellow, and I'm going to lay that down just around the edges of my little geese. I'm going to blend that all together with my paintbrush. Next, I've got this color that's kind of a light orange, dark yellow, and I'm going to be adding shading and shadowing with that. So wherever I would like the color to be a little darker, a little bolder, I'm going to add that. And I'm going to take my damp paintbrush and kind of pull that in towards the other yellow. I want to definitely be able to see the difference between the colors. I don't want them to blend all in into one color. If I feel like I want it a little bit darker in some places, I can go back in and add just a little bit more. Using a coral color, I'm going to add a little bit of that to my duck's beak and feet and blend that out with my brush. Using the same olive green that I used for the grass on the bunnies, I've colored in the scarf on the Mama Goose. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom and add some grass and soften that out with my paintbrush. I wanted to add just a little bit more color and texture instead of it being completely stark white. So I've got some peeled paint green Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to rub my ink pad onto my clear stamping block. I've got a larger number 8 brush, get some water and wet that down, pick that up on my paintbrush, and I'm going to tap it and splatter it on the watercolor paper. And I've done that on both panels. Try to avoid your images so they don't have a lot of green splatter on them, and also try not to touch your paint while it's wet or you'll get just a little bit of splatter on there. And now I'm just going to let these dry for a few minutes. To finish off my cards, I've put tape runner on the back of my watercolor panels. I'm going to center them on my cardstock bases. And here's my finished cards. I'm really happy with the way these turned out. I think they have a really soft, sweet kind of storybook look to them. I really enjoyed stepping out of my comfort zone and trying something a little bit new, something a little bit more clean and simple, and I think they turned out really nice. I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and subscribe, and I hope you have a really happy day. Bye!